All set? Alrighty, Council, I'll call us to order at 7 o'clock on my watch and on my laptop, and 8 minutes before 7 according to the clock here, and that's despite Chief Ryan telling us we should change the batteries out when we turn our clocks back an hour, but anyways. No. Anyways, I do need a approval for tonight's agenda. Moved by Councillor Ross and seconded by Councillor Saunders. Any questions on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, all in favor? And the agenda is approved. And pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Does any member of council have a pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4, which is Finance and Corporate Services, consent agenda, which we have none. So we'll move on to matters of consideration. And it's recommended action that the 2017 draft operating budget be approved as presented, that the 2017 draft capital budget be approved as presented. Mover and seconder, get this item on the floor. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Saunders. And I will turn it over to, I think, our treasurer. Carrie, do you want to start this conversation off?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. Tonight before you, the 2017 budget draft number 3 report. And just the report highlights from the last time that we met as a group to review draft number 2. The town's specific municipal price index was calculated at 2.4%, which was presented to Council on September 28th. Draft number 1 was presented to Committee of the Whole, and at that point in time we were sitting at a 2.35% tax increase or $220,000 budget increase. Capital was sitting slightly at $39,000, slightly over our capital-based budget, so we needed to do a little bit of work on that. Draft number 2 was then presented to Committee of the Whole on November 2nd at a 2.2% tax increase or $208,000. And the capital budget for 2017 was balanced to the capital-based budget of just over $1.3 million. Following our last meeting, there were a few changes directed by Council, as well as some changes that staff completed based on additional information still coming in, still being received as we go through the month of November. And I'll get into the details of those changes. But tonight, the final draft of the 2017 budget being presented tonight is currently sitting at 2.5% tax increase or $235,000 budget increase, and the capital-based budget remains reconciled to our $1.3 million. Also included in your 2017 budget summary, as well as the budget details that are there for information, I have included budget estimates for 2018 and 2019. Showing potential tax impacts of 1% each year. Those forward-looking budgets for 2018 and 2019 were just based on general assumptions in terms of 1% increase in revenues, 2% increase in expenses, as well as some of the known factors that we do know for future years in terms of 2018 and 2019. Senior management had input into some of those known changes for those future years, but the majority of those budget estimates are just based on inflationary assumptions. There is some additional information to verbally update you that we have since received after this draft number 3 was finalized. But at this point in time, as I mentioned, we're sitting at a 2.5% tax increase or $235,000 budget increase. The background, I think I already have gone through it in terms of how we got here tonight to the figures that we're presenting. Some of the changes that were made to draft number 2 are detailed So in terms of what council directed at the last meeting, we did increase the roads part-time wages and benefits for the addition of a road patrol equipment operator and the extension of the road patrol season. We also increased the transfer to asset management reserve by the municipal price index of 2.4%. We also increased arena part-time wages slightly, $600 was the impact in terms of implementing 2 ice monitors for public skating. We also increased the events contracted services by $5,000 for 2017 amphitheater programming, and a slight reduction, $95 related to Tiny Township arena contribution after my conversation with the treasurer of Tiny Township and the negotiations that previously had taken place. I had confirmed with him, and there is a 1.5% inflationary increase for 2017. At the time of writing this report, the 2017 OOMPH grant allocation was unknown. We have received that allocation, and we will be seeing a 2017 operating budget increase of $34,000 related to our OOMPH grant, and $6,600 of that is related directly to the court security and prisoner transportation program that is also delivered through the Ontario Municipal Provincial Fund or Partnership Fund. So our OOMPH grant allocation is actually $252,500, and the court security prisoner transportation contribution is $6,600, for total annual allocation of $259,100, which is exactly $34,000 increase over last year. In terms of capital, the net change from draft number 2 to this evening is, in terms of dollars, is 0. However, some of the direction received at the last meeting and some of the other changes that staff have undertaken for draft 3. Staff directed the removal of the Public Works fuel tank capital project of $50,000. I had also mentioned at the last meeting that we were proposing to add Roads Division garage facility upgrades project for $20,000. We also increased the parks water line repairs project by $2,300. After discussing it between the facility manager as well as the capital asset manager and the water division, we want to make sure that we have enough money in that project. There are repairs, water line repairs, that are required at all 3 parks that are mentioned there, McGuire Memorial and Rotary Park. The net changes of those 3 items was $27,700 reduction. So what I did was I just applied it to the Main Street reconstruction project towards the taxation funding, and the offset to that was reducing the debt related to the Main Street reconstruction project. I'll get back to now some of the verbal updates in terms of the impact of our OOMPH allocation with that $34,000. What I am suggesting or recommending this evening is that the impact of the allocation be transferred to the corporate contingency reserve for future discussions that are going to take place with council in terms of future staffing requirements as a result of some of the studies that are being done in 2017. As well, there is a change related to the Recreation Department's day camp program. So with the new Director of Recreation on board now, there has been a thorough analysis of the day camp program and the consolidation of the analysis of the actual results for 2016 and the budget for 2017 related to consolidating the museum and the Rotary Park day camp programs. And after doing that financial analysis, we can reduce the day camp operating program. The revenues will be increased, the revenues will be increased, as will the expenses, but the net operating cost of that program, we can reduce taxation requirements by approximately $8,000. With that change, as well as transferring money into the contingency reserve, we can basically present a final $227,000 operating budget increase, or a 2.4% tax impact.
Great, thanks, Carrie. Any questions for Carrie on tonight's budget? I have a couple, but just Carrie, in terms of the contingency, I'm fine with putting the $35,000 for the funding in there. But is that contingency such, so we've got a couple areas that I think we need to look at. One is the ops review. I think, Jeff, you've got 3 ops reviews. You're looking at the ops review, health and safety, and what was the third one again?
The core service review, health and safety, and the compensation review.
Yeah, the compensation review. And I understand from the core services review that the, at least Midland and Wasaga Beach were closer to $50,000 versus $35,000 to complete those. So if that's in contingency, and because I don't want to see us not do an ops review because, you know, Jeff was short $5,000. So is that contingency allow Jeff to flexibility by definition and policy to take those monies and bring it to council's attention?
Certainly, if it's specifically for that purpose, we could put a portion of that right into administrative consulting services for that purpose.
Okay. And the other one was, we talked about the 5 municipalities getting together to do a review of the fiber optic networks in North Simcoe, and so that was $60,000, and the 4 municipalities plus Moseley First Nation would divide that 60, so that would be $12,000 each. So what would, you know, so we don't know whether the other municipalities are in yet. We don't know whether council likes that, you know, the RFP and the process will go down. But having said that, I mean, I'd like to at least have that $12,000 tucked away so that we can make a decision in the future when we have more information. So again, would that be contingency, or what would that?
Again, if it's contingency, basically is if the project or the spend is coming back to council for a decision, and where we can get the money, we could get it there. If council wishes to specifically fund that particular item, we could direct it more appropriately for that specific project. For example, we could put it into our administrative computer budget line, our computer services budget line for 2017. So again, it doesn't really matter which budget line it's in specifically, but if council wishes to approve those particular projects, we could put it in a more specific or appropriate budget line.
My issue is we don't have enough data on the fiber research to make a decision. So could that come out of the good idea fund if we decided that fiber review is a good idea? I just want to make sure we have some flexibility on it, because I think it's something that I'd argue that we would at least want to seriously consider and then make a decision. So I just want to make sure we have flexibility to have that, because I know it's a freight train coming at us. I think we're getting a president in a couple of weeks, and then we'll have to see the RFP. But
that would be a good idea to put it in the good idea fund.
Okay,
because the spending of that fund does go back directly to council.
Okay, thanks.
For approval.
And the good idea fund is sitting at 10,000 right now?
Correct.
So, okay, so
Correct.
we didn't use it last year, as far as, I guess we didn't have a good idea last year, but maybe we'll have a good idea this year. You never know. Council, open questions for Carrie. Councillor Saunders?
The $50,000 that was taken out of the budget that was originally put in for the fuel tank, where did the $50,000 go?
There was a new, the fuel tank project was removed. The roads garage facility upgrades project was added, and that was $20,000. There was a slight increase to the park's water line repairs by $2,300. So again, the net result was a reduction to the capital budget of $27,700, and that was applied directly to the Main Street reconstruction project, which reduced debt.
You know that I feel strongly about roads. Brian, as a result of the cancellation of that $50,000, has the planning for redoing the roads of this community been accelerated at all, or is it the same as it was last time? Maybe we can put some money in the budget for new microphones when that go around.
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Saunders, as far as us doing more roads than we were presenting last time, no. The budget is the same. If it's council's will to add additional funds to the budget, I'd be certainly willing to entertain that. If it's the 27,000 that you're referring to, but no, it's essentially the same capital and preventative road maintenance plan that was presented.
When I look at the ways in which we're proposing to spend capital dollars on things like administrative upgrades to buildings and this kind of thing, I must admit that those all pale by comparison with what to me is the overwhelming need of our community, which is to upgrade our roads. And when we have money that we have canceled out of the budget for, I think, good reason, it seems to me that it's logical not to put that money into contingencies. I hate contingencies. That just means you're putting on hold money that could be spent on upgrading our roads. And I think the roads are the priority, not the contingencies. And so I'm interested in the degree to which certainly part of that $50,000 could be thrown at our roads and not hidden away in contingencies and good idea funds and all this kind of thing. It seems to me the good idea that is crying out to us right now is our roads. And I'd rather see the money spent right there, not put it in a contingency, not put it in some kind of rainy day fund. Commit it to roads and spend it on roads.
Councillor Saunders, just to clarify the situation, so the 50,000 that we took out from the gas plants was not the 35,000 that we were talking about before. So no, I'm just telling you the number in play is 85,000 if you're tugging that thread. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Just in response to Councillor Saunders' comments, and also I did forget to mention a part of your package, and as a result of the comments made during our last budget meeting, I did put together a basically 11-year summary of the town's road investments from 2016 right through to 2026. I included 2016 as well because there is that carry forward investment that we're bringing forward for the Main Street project. But basically including preventative road maintenance in the operating budget as well as our roads investment, that would be roads, sidewalks, and the engineering of the roads, and as well as the reconstruction. For 2017, we are looking at a total investment into our roads of almost $4.5 million. You can see each year's annual total investment as well, and that in comparison, that would be 2016 would be not quite $3.5 million, so $1 million increase in 2017 going into our roads. And the 11-year summary is just here for your information. But on average, it's just slightly over $2.5 million a year being invested into our roads.
Councillor Levy.
Thank you very much, Marshall. My question after seeing that $27,000 that's been that the treasurer allotted into Main Street reconstruction debt. I'm wondering if I'd like to hear Brian's opinion, if we have enough money, I don't want to use the word contingency, but if we have enough money in the road reconstruction project, Main Street reconstruction project, to handle any required public relations, added communications needs that might be needed next summer.
Thank you. Through your worship to Councillor Levy. Yes, that is included, and that will be included as part of our construction tender.
Thank you.
Councillor Ross and then Councillor LaRose, please.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just a small little point. Last year, we made public skating a free opportunity for members of the community. I've been up there many times, public skating, and it's packed. The arena is packed on public skating day. Many people have actually said that they would like to see a little more time. We have 2 hours and 40 minutes a week of public skating. I would love to see a small little amount going, open another hour and a half of public skating time. So a small budgetary request, but if we can afford more opportunity for more members to skate during public skating, I'd love to see that as an opportunity with a little bit of our recreation planning. I'll echo Councillor Saunders as well with affordability of more roadway with any excess surplus fund available and redirect to roads.
Councillor LaRose.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple weeks ago when we looked at the last draft, there was a question came up about a $41,000 increase on our building officials, and we were going to be checking with Midland to see what the issue was, whether that was part of our contract. I just wondered if we had an update on that.
I think we do, Carrie.
Yes, we have somewhat of an update that I can give you, but a full financial analysis is in progress right now in terms of the town of Midland completing that financial analysis to present to both councils prior to preparing or presenting another a renewal to the agreement for the shared services. But the meeting that we had with the planner and the acting treasurer at the time with the town of Midland, they stated that the difference in the contracted price of the shared agreement is based on the fact that the building inspector, based on the fact that the first year of the shared services was only for a 7-month period, and the building inspector actually didn't get hired until May or June, and our shared services agreement started in April. So for 2017, they are now budgeting for 12 months for that building inspector, as well as a new employee getting step increases as well over that new year. So that is the majority of the difference in the contracted price. However, it is still just a placeholder until the full analysis can be done and presented to each council, which at the same time I'll be doing an analysis of their financial analysis.
Any other comments? I guess the only one I had was if we throw more, any other year I'd be supporting Doug and Brad in terms of throwing more money into roads, but next year's the Main Street. And so I am petrified to throw more workload in a year where we're doing the biggest project we're going to do that's going to impact our community in the largest fashion. Any other year I'm with Brad and Doug in this one, would I have to admit I would not be comfortable personally of adding more. It could be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and I think it's a year to be maybe a little more cautious, and I'd argue that we're probably being a little more bold because Brian argued with us to do it over 2 years. We pushed back and said do it substantially complete in one, and so we throw that task in front of Brian and then add an extra $85K. Sorry, normally I'm with you two guys, but I have to admit, on this one I'm going to, I think, be on the other side of that conversation. Councillor Levy, you had a comment?
I didn't, but I will.
Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that one could consider that since we're doing hoping to do the Main Street instead of 2 years in one, that we're actually doubling the amount of roads we're doing next year. There's that. It's
Councillor Ross.
As a follow-up, and I think Councillor Saunders may agree, not speaking for him, in 2019, we have a project coming forward for the engineering of Chatham Street. We could move that forward next year, so then we're shovel-ready in 2018. So I don't think we're saying let's do it. At the end of the day, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, that's an outside engineering contract that would do that, so an outside resource would prepare the report, do what's needed to make a shovel-ready year ahead, which will put no further impact on our resource, I would argue. So I'll turn to Brian to confirm that, but I'm thinking there's ways that we can have the ability to move projects ahead of the path by using outside resources just to bring that. And Councillor Saunders brought it up last time. Is there a way that we can bring things forward sooner by planning?
So Brian, in terms of two questions there, so can you bring it forward with the answer is yes, but in terms of fear of your workload for next year, I think you need to address that as well.
Yes, we do have the engineering for Chatham Street for next year, 2017, for construction in 2018. Yeah, we would need that full season to get that construction contract ready for Chatham Street. So I wouldn't suggest we could push forward Chatham Street to next year. Is that the question?
The engineering was, so you have $85,000, and I think Councillor Ross using Chatham as an example, but I think the concept was, with that $85,000, could you use that $85,000 to move any of the projects forward so it's engineered shovel-ready a year sooner?
So not necessarily Chatham Street?
I think Chatham was an
Okay.
example, but I think Councillor Saunders and Ross there are more, and what can we bring forward in a fashion, recognizing that your workload's such that maybe we don't want you to pave or construct something, but could something get pre-engineered, pre-designed, so we're in the queue 12 months sooner?
At this point, I think our season's pretty well full for next year. I mean, I would love to bring something
Now's the
forward.
time to be honest.
But considering the workload we have for next year, I think we're pretty well full. I know an outside consultant would be doing majority of the work, but we do the review of it, so it does take quite a bit of time. So. Yeah, at this point, I would say no.
Councillor Saunders.
The principal, LE, of what we're trying to accomplish here is to accelerate the roads program. I understand your point about next year, Brian, but if we can take things that are targeted for 2-3 years out and bring them a year forward, even that accelerates the whole process. So I appreciate your reasoning about not wanting to clutter up next year. I mean, next year is going to be obviously very busy, but are there items that are out there that we can be bringing forward?
I think the one project that I'm eyeing in the capital plan, obviously Chatham Street is a much needed project. I'm eyeing Fox Street after that as one that could be brought forward in terms of engineering wise. If not next year, 2018. Right now it's scheduled for 2019.
So would it be necessary, Brian, to amend the capital plan as you have just described, or can we wait until next year's budget process?
I would wait until next year. It's not really impactful in terms of, yeah.
And none of us will let this slip through the cracks, will we?
Because any other year I'm with you guys, just with Main Street, I wasn't brave enough. My knees were buckling, I have to admit. So I guess now we're looking for recommendations. We've got the budget as is. We can carry, what are you looking for direction from us that would allow this to get to council for a final kick at the cat and approval?
Thank you, Your Worship. Based on the changes that we have discussed, in terms of increasing the administrative consulting services by $15,000, as well as increasing council's contingency, good idea fund by $12,000. I would I would like to see that a recommendation could be approved tonight by Committee of the Whole, that the 2017 draft operating budget be approved with the changes discussed, resulting in an increase of $227,000 with a tax impact of 2.4%, and that the 2017 draft capital budget be approved as presented.
Just for clarity, so when I mentioned the 12,000 for the fiber project, my intention wasn't to increase the Good Idea Fund by $12,000. If we had 10, I think that was close enough. We can always find 2 somewhere as a council if we think it's that good of an idea. So I really wasn't looking to take that 12 and put it there, so I don't know where you'd want to put it, Carrie. I mean, you can put it there, but just for clarity, that wasn't what I was chasing.
General corporate contingency, then.
Yeah, Councillor Levy, please.
And that takes care of that 12,000. What was the other increase?
$15,000 towards administrative consulting services.
Right, but we don't know that he's going to need that. We're just, is there no existing contingency that we could find that instead of increasing the budget? Is there no existing administrative reserve or contingency fund that an additional $5,000, $10,000 or $15,000 could come out of it? That's my question.
There is the general corporate contingency fund, but we don't typically rely on that for projects or for, those are for unanticipated changes in 2017.
I appreciate that. My concern is that we were in a really good place going into this, and I'd hate to see additional monies be added to the budget because the mayor just raised the question that perhaps we're not giving the CAO enough money. I would perhaps like to see us go with what we've got, and if there is additional funds needed, that we find it. But we don't know. We're a lot smaller than Midland, so what they got for, say, 60,000, we might very well get for 35,000. So just because the mayor speculated doesn't mean we have to increase the budget, in my opinion.
Yeah, so this wouldn't increase the budget, Councillor Levy, so it's the 35,000 is from the funding. So in terms of taxation, the recommendations here haven't moved us from that 2.5. Still where we were.
Actually, it has reduced it to 2.4.
There you go. So it actually dropped a little bit. Councillor Saunders.
On a point of order, Your Worship, we are in committee, and we are more specifically in Finance and Corporate Services. Who should be chairing this meeting?
Oh, we are Finance and Corporate Services. Okay, well, I'll turn the chair over to Anita then.
Thank you.
You're doing a fine job. We're almost.
Rock and rolling. He's just trying to stretch it to 7:31.
I was waiting for you to hand it over. So, thank you very much, everyone, for your I think we've had good discussion. We've come a long way. I think we have a great budget moving forward. Carrie, you did have a recommendation. Do you want to go through that again? And we'll see if I have a mover and a
You
seconder.
already have a mover and seconder. You're the mover.
I'm the mover. Did I say I moved that? Did I?
I'm the
Jesus.
seconder.
And you're, okay, yes, we did. All right, so further discussion. No further discussion. I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Unanimous. Did I see your hand up, Councillor Rawson? Yes, okay, I thought so, but then it went down very quickly. Very good. So congratulations, Carrie. You've done a tremendous amount of work, and all of staff have been involved, and I don't know if we've ever had the budget put to bed, well, pretty well put to bed this early. Yeah, it's great, very, very good.
Yeah, it was
We're
well done.
before the county's next, hopefully next
Tuesday.
week, Tuesday. Very good.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
So, we're going to,
Question?
questions
Yeah,
from the
question.
public. We got Morgan. Do you have a question?
Morgan, do you have a question for us?
All righty, then I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Ross and Councillor Levy, all in favor? And we are adjourned at
Wow,
7:34.
that's great.
Good night, everybody. Well done, staff.
Very well done.